It has been a year. It has been a year. So we're on full lockdown again. Great, but I guess that gave me time to catch up with Shonen Jump. Yay! Hey everyone, welcome to a new installment in the series where I take a look at all the manga running in Shonen Jump, give you my updated thoughts on the ones I'm keeping up with, talk about any big updates, and of course, go over the new series. And we have a lot of new series to go over. But first, as always, we're going to start with the things I have been keeping up with. Oh, and as per usual, if I don't mention a series this video, it just means I don't really have anything new to say. Jujutsu Kaisen and My Hero Academia are both in pretty similar situations right now in their stories, in that they have both just concluded their biggest arcs yet. And as far as I'm concerned, their best arcs yet. For the past year or so, these series have just been putting out non-stop awesome shit, and I'm very, very impressed with the output, especially on the art side. I think both of these artists really showed their stuff here. And I'm very excited for the future of both of these series, especially Jujutsu Kaisen, because, you know, it's a lot newer, a lot shorter. And on that note, Jujutsu Kaisen, man. What the fuck? I don't see many people talking about this. Not as much as I did with Demon Slayer. But this series is pulling a Demon Slayer, and it's kind of wild. We've gotten to the point where Jujutsu Kaisen is selling over 1 million copies every week. And the weeks that it doesn't, it's usually because it has all sold out. I can't say it's unprecedented because, of course, Demon Slayer did this last year. But it is extremely shocking to see another series become so mind-numbingly popular. I can't say it's not deserved though, because of course I think Jujutsu Kaisen is fantastic, especially this recent arc that just ended, and of course the anime adaptation has been doing really well. But yeah, again, it's just one of those cases where this stuff never used to happen before. The series never got this popular before. I don't think Jujutsu Kaisen is going to pass Demon Slayer's yearly sales from last year, but I feel like it's definitely going to beat out One Piece's record, which again is just so insane to me, but it just makes me even more excited, because when this happened to Demon Slayer was ending, but I mean, Jujutsu Kaisen, we have no idea how long it's going to go on for. It could be around for years still. So yeah, very excited for the future. Now, the only other series I am completely caught up to now is One Piece. One Piece being at the climax of the Wano arc, which has been going on for a couple years now. And you know, this being One Piece, this climax could still last another year. We don't know. But yeah, I have to say, this has been a very exciting arc. It's definitely the most excited and invested I've been in One Piece in a long time. And I'm really excited to see where it goes. It is annoying how the releases are so slow now, but you know, after going for so long, Oda definitely deserves these breaks. If Wano concludes this year, I think this is going to be a very interesting year for One Piece story-wise, because there are definitely going to be some major changes soon. Just an update I have, Dr. Stone and Mashal still on hold. It's really just a case of me just wanting more chapters to build up so I can read them all. Still love both series. So as for some updates on some more recent series that seem to have gotten off to a really good start, I may have mentioned before about Ayakashi Triangle, but that series is doing extremely well. Not super surprising because, you know, it's one of the only ecchi series in the magazine now, and it is of course from a veteran author, so you know, a lot of people who are into that stuff have been eating it up, you know. Gross, degenerates, whatever. Phantom Seer, which is a series I enjoyed quite a bit from the last video, has gotten off to a pretty solid start with its first 2 volumes. Not crazy numbers, nothing to write home about, but I think at this pace, it's pretty likely that Phantom Seer will be around for a while. And you also have Me and Roboco, which, you know, I wasn't too big on, but apparently it has a ton of fans, because for a comedy series, it also got off to a pretty good start with volume 1. Still a bit too early to really tell if this one's going to stick around, but if you are a fan of the series, that's some good news. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Axe Watch. Out of all the series currently running, I think there are 2 that are pretty done for, which is always unfortunate. And that's Cop and Dolphin, which has not been selling super well, not been ranking pretty high. I don't hear anyone talking about it, and I don't think it's going to be able to pull itself out of this. You also have High School Family, which, you know, I didn't think was terrible. It was definitely very odd though, and unfortunately Volume 1 bombed pretty hard, so I can definitely see them wanting to get rid of this one soon. Anyway, before we move on to the brand new stuff, there have been a few series that have ended that we can send off. The biggest one, of course, being Chainsaw Man Part 1. Don't have much else to say here. I did a full review on this. I absolutely loved it. We have no word on when Part 2 is going to start, but hopefully it will be sooner rather than later. However, that will be in the Jump Plus publication, so it will no longer be in the weekly magazine. And then you have 3 series that got canceled. A Gravity Boys, which, we saw coming for a while, but it is pretty commendable how long this one actually lasted. 50 chapters for a gag series that got canceled. Not too shabby. Yeah, this was a series I didn't really care for at all. But, credit where credit is due. It at least made some sort of an impact. However, Mori King wasn't so lucky. This was another gag series. However, it, nowhere near as resonant as The Boys, which got canceled, I believe, after 3 volumes, which, it's kind of rough, but, that's the way it goes. Then the most unceremonious of them all being Our Blood Oath. This was a series that I thought was okay, but really had nothing to make it stand out from the crowd, and I think that's what ended up being its undoing. It bombed pretty hard and got canceled after 2 volumes. Again, I always wish these authors the best of luck and hope that whenever they return, they learn from their mistakes and can deliver a better product. And now it is time for the new series. Yeah, ever since I've been doing this, almost every time a brand new batch of fresh new series have come out, I've always found myself quite disappointed because it's very rare that I find a series that I like. Most of these series are usually just generic crap that get canceled and I never think about it again. Like, remember Double Taisei? Exactly. However, this time around, and goddamn, because this has to be the strongest batch of new series that I have ever seen since I started doing this. Not all of them are great, but I do think that all of them are a significant step up over what we are used to. Except for this one. Build King! That is right, everyone's favorite child diddler is back with a brand new series about carpenters. This is set in a whimsical fantasy world where monsters turn into houses and can talk. 2 brothers are on an island, learning to become carpenters. Their master, leaves. He goes to go work on a big project, and he's like, all right, you guys stay here, keep building, and one day we'll come get you. Problem, though, is that one of the brothers, he's not a good carpenter, right? He doesn't like to build structures. What he likes to build instead is peace, so he wants to build a world of peace. This was not great. This series just felt so odd to me. I found the characters to be extremely annoying. While the premise was something I'd never seen before, it still managed to come across as, very generic and cliche. The world was just really too goofy and out there for my taste, and while this guy is a veteran mangaka and is a good artist, I just found the art style to be super unappealing and ugly. And yeah, there was really nothing about this one that stuck out to me at all. And that kinda seems to be the general consensus, because this series does not appear to be doing very well. Of course, we won't really know until we get Volume 1 sales. Yeah, anything can happen still, but I feel like this is going to be another instance of a veteran mangaka coming back and not being able to get lightning to strike twice. But now that that's out of the way, we got 5 more series to talk about. I've ordered them in my least favorite to favorite, but let's go. The Elusive Samurai. This is a new series from Yusei Matsui, who of course brought us Assassination Classroom. Now, it has been quite a while since this series ended, so you may not know or have forgotten that this series is a really big deal. In fact, the year it ended, it was one of the best-selling manga at the time. So this guy coming back is definitely a big deal. However, I don't think his new series is particularly interesting. It has a decent premise. It's a, historical series. It's following a samurai. I haven't looked up to see if any of this is accurate or they're real people or not. I just wasn't that interested in it. But it's essentially about this samurai who gets by just running away from battles. Instead of, most samurai who wish for, an honorable death on the battlefield, whenever this guy gets overwhelmed, things get too crazy, he just runs away. But in doing that, he can also use his, agility to outsmart the enemy. He can, just swing back around and get them when they're not looking. I didn't care about this at all. I found it to be very dull, and I'm honestly kind of blanking on the plot already. This might be because I've just been consuming a lot of samurai stories recently, and they've all been significantly more interesting. But, it's decent. Matsui, he's a great artist, a lot of really cool art here, and I know a lot of people have been resonating with this one. So out of all of these series, I actually feel like this is going to sell the most right off the bat, but we'll have to see. We'll also have to see. I Tell C is a new mystery thriller, I think. It follows a detective who falls in love with every criminal And she solves each case not because she wants to apprehend them, but because she wants to fuck them. So she does the best detective work people have ever seen, so she can stalk and track down these killers, expose their crimes, then is very upset when they actually have to go to jail. I'll say this, the first chapter was really interesting. They did a really cool fake out where going into this blind, I had no idea what this was about. And it starts off with this celebrity who appears to be being stalked by a crazy fan. And I actually thought that this was like the main character and this was the whole thing. He was dealing with a stalker. But it turns out, no, the stalker was just this detective and this guy was actually the murderer. I thought that was really cool. You also have the rivalry with her and the other detectives, two brothers, who don't approve of her methods at all because, they're kind of fucked. And yeah, so this series does have a lot of interesting things going for it. I just don't really think that the main thing with the girl, falling in love with the criminals is all that interesting. I feel like it might get really old after a while. I mean, 3 chapters in, I can already feel not being as invested, but we're very, very early on. I really can't say where this series is going to go, but I am mildly interested, so if it ends up being really good, that'll be awesome. Then the baseball series, the Dragon Prince of Tennis Table, the Dragons Ping Pong. I actually can't remember the name of this series, but that's okay. This is a brand new sports series, which is kind of significant because ever since Haikyuu ended, we have actually been in the only period of time in Shonen Jump's entire history that there has not been a sports series in the main magazine, which is kind of crazy. And here we are back with a brand new baseball series. Baseball is a sport, where I know how it works, it's definitely one of the least interesting ones to me. I'm not a sports guy in general, but if I'm forced to watch a game of something, I'd probably rather it be almost anything else than baseball. However, I did find this one to be pretty entertaining for the single chapter that we've seen of it. It follows this young, short and scrawny boy who wants to join this big baseball team. And while this kid trains very hard, he does lack quite a bit in physical ability, but where he makes up for it is with his smarts, where he basically does research on every single player he can, learning all the data, learning all the science and physics and all this nerdy shit. And he basically uses those things to his advantage when he plays. So he goes to the tryouts for this big team and he knocks it out of the park, literally and figuratively. But despite his amazing performance, they don't let him join the team because while it was impressive what he did, I mean, this team, they already have people doing all the math shit, all of the data collection. So they really don't have a use on the team for his strengths. And this kills him. He's all depressed, he goes off. But there's another player who actually made the team that turns it down. This guy, he's basically the opposite of our main character. And he goes up to him, he's like, hey man, let's start our own team, fuck these guys. And that's the series so far. So yeah, only 1 chapter for this one, so not really much to say. But for what it was, I was pretty entertained. I thought the art was really good. The actual baseball game was pretty entertaining. And yeah, this one could go anywhere, but I'm definitely interested for now. Now, I have heard from people that this series is pretty derivative of others, and I really can't speak for that because of how few sports series I've actually read. So that could be a problem going forward, but again, I can't really say much there. Next up is a new series from another veteran mangaka, this one being Kenta Shinohara, someone who, based on his previous work, Astra Lost in Space, I consider myself to be quite a big fan of. Witch Watch, the story of a boy and a girl living together. That's right, our main character is the descendant of ogres. He's just a normal guy, except he has ogre-like strength. Then you have his childhood friend who was off, at Witch Academy for a few years. She comes back, and now based on some, old family contract thing that the witches and ogres signed, now the ogre boy has to, defend and protect the witch. So they're living together now. The witch is in love with him. This was great. I really, really enjoyed Witch Watch. While the premise does sound pretty dumb, I think it was executed really well. I think both characters, the boy and the girl, are really, really likable, and I think they have great chemistry together. I thought the few wacky scenarios they got into were really creative, and I think that the world they're setting up has the potential to be really interesting. There's this whole prophecy that some crazy shit is going to happen to the witch, so he's going to need to, protect her from that, but we have no idea what we're about to be getting into. And if the story ends up being anywhere close to Astra, That's going to be really, really sick. But yeah, only 2 chapters out. Of course, anything can happen. But so far, very, very happy with this one. And I really want to read Sket Dance now. And last, but absolutely not least, there's always a Chad manga. You know, whether it's a joke or not, there is always a Chad manga that comes out. Sakamoto Days. This is what I'm talking about. This series is a masterpiece. How hard was that, Shonen Jump? How hard was that? As a commenter I saw put it, Sakamoto Days is basically John Wick if John Wick's wife didn't die. Mr. Sakamoto is a retired hitman. He decided to get married, shelve his assassin life, and run a convenience store with his family, which of course led to him growing quite out of shape. Problem though is you can't really leave the assassin life. So the assassins send another guy to either bring Sakamoto back or take him out. The problem though is that this guy, he's a pretty big Sakamoto fan because Sakamoto is a big fucking deal. This guy isn't your average hitman. He is a Giga Tanner hitman. He is a Sigma male. So when this guy reluctantly tries to take Sakamoto out, he's absolutely no match. Sakamoto fucking destroys him. But because Sakamoto was such a nice guy, he's like, alright, fine. Let's go take out these assassins. You can work with me. I'll protect you. And yeah, we just go from there. It's wonderful. Now, I haven't actually read all of it. I've only read the first handful of chapters. But man, they were good. The comedy in this series is so excellent. Like I said, it really does feel inspired by things like John Wick. You just have this super badass guy who has this massive arsenal of weapons who can seemingly do anything. But of course, it's juxtaposed with him being like a fat and lazy family man. But just the way he fights is so creative too. Like he spits out a cough drop to deflect a bullet. Like he's so strong that he just like stops a bus. He just fucking pulls out a street sign and stops the bus. Like, this shit is amazing. Then you have his partner who joins the store, who's also really interesting because he's actually clairvoyant. Seems to be a bit of a trend lately. But yeah, so there's a whole other angle with him being able to read people's minds. So they're going on with all their vigilante stuff. Sakamoto was sworn off killing, but you know, whenever someone's in need, he'll still help them. Then you have this other cop character who's like, no vigilantes on my street, so they're always trying to escape her. It's just so fun and entertaining, and it's one of the best starts for a Jump series I've seen in a very long time. And I really, really hope this one stays this good and becomes really popular because it is a huge breath of fresh air. It's a great twist on this type of story. I'm really, really happy with this one and I cannot wait to read more. So yeah, there you go. First Shonen Jump video of 2021, and I have to say, I have a good feeling about this year. So many established series are reaching their peaks, and there are so many new series that seem to be super promising. Obviously, they're not all going to be winners, but out of all these new series, I really think there are a bunch that could end up really big and really enjoyable. So with that, thank you all so much for watching. You can leave your thoughts on any of these series in the comments down below. And of course, I will be back with another one of these videos after the next full batch of new series has come out.
What did you see when the body was found?